Gosselin here with a Tools of the Hobby episode to continue my series on basic modeling skills for novices and beginners, and also for modelers who are working on a budget. So today we're going to be talking about sanding, grinding, and filing. And I took a long time to think about this video topic because it's a topic that's mentioned a lot in the community here and also magazines and such. So I really didn't know what to add, because the idea of my Tools of the Hobby theme is progressing forward, showing all the elements of building up a basic model: gluing, cutting with blades, sanding, finishing, polishing with finer sandpaper, getting ready for painting processes. So it's building up over a period of time, and so I wanted to put sanding in there because it is an important tool in model building, the craft of it. But I didn't want to be redundant, so I wanted to throw in a few topics that aren't talked about too much, and just to shed some light on some styles that may not be being used at the moment. And here we are. So, where do we want to begin? I'm going to begin with what I always say. If you're a beginner model builder, or you're coming back into the hobby from some time off, have fun building the model. Don't get sucked in and being overwhelmed with, oh, I need all these things. Those things are good. They're good, but they're not necessary to have fun building a model kit and to enjoy just building. The things we're going to talk about, most of it you really don't need to do to build a model. I never really worried about filling seam lines and ejection pinholes and getting all that sandpaper all nice and smooth on the plastic surface when I was a kid. I just built it and enjoyed myself. And sometimes I wish I could go back and be that kid again, but sometimes not. I do like, as model builders, as we get invested in the hobby, there's a natural inclination to want to become better. And I think that's a normal, healthy thing. Whether you're a musician, an artist, woodworking, anything, it's normal, it's healthy. I think it's when it stops becoming fun, then that's always a red flag. Then you need to sit down, stop, and think about, hey, what's going on here? So enough with the philosophy of model building, but so that's all I wanted to say. So again, in my styles and the way I build my models, this is just one of many varieties and styles of filing and sanding. There's a lot of other techniques out there, and I would encourage anybody to go check them out. There's a bunch of great model builders here in our community who use a lot of different things that I don't particularly use right now. Not that I don't want to use them, just that I still have all my material right now, and I feel I don't need to go buy other stuff at the moment, but maybe later I'll check them out. But yeah, check it out. And again, I'm not a compendium. I do not claim to be some great model builder who has all the answers. I don't think anybody really does. I think as a community, truly a community, is a group of people with sharing all their ideas. That's what's beautiful about the YouTube model building thing, is it really is a community. And it's in its purest essence, just people coming together, building models, sharing their ideas with other people. It's very unique. I've been in a lot of clubs and stuff, and you don't always see that. And that's one of the things that is one of the positive strengths of the YouTube model building world. I'm not too sure exactly what that means, a definition, but I like it, and it's a good thing. It really is. Alright. Enough with the premise. Let's get with the topic. Alright, sanding paper basics. Alright, we got sandpaper. If you have no idea what sandpaper is, you know what, I'm not laughing. I didn't know either, but You know, we all start as beginners. You know, sandpaper, you gotta know your grits, right? This is a 60 grit sandpaper. It says 60 on it. Alright, not from auto building, I just wanted to demonstrate. 60 grit, that is strong grit. That is, there's the old joke we say in the States, you know, you're as smooth as a 60 grit sandpaper. You know, it's the antithesis statement, you know, it's very gritty, and that person's action wasn't that smooth. So you never want to use this for auto building. This is for woodworking or other, maybe auto body with filler and stuff, Bondo. So I just want to give it, but yeah, it's really gritty. You can see it's got a lot of nooks and crannies. The more nooks and crannies, it's going to be a small grit. You know, that's 60. I'm sure there's probably a 30. So as you're approaching 0, that is a strong grit. And you never really want to get in there anyway. Model builders, for the most part, the grit that and then the other side, you know, 4000, that's smooth, and that's finishing detail. And I'll get to that later. So I just want to show you the different paper grits that I use currently. Now that may change. You know, again, model building, the tools we use, they change. The market provides new things. Maybe a model builder somewhere comes up with a new idea, and it changes. And you know, it's the same thing with putty and glue and all that stuff. So I'm sure maybe what I'm talking about now may be obsolete in a few years, maybe not. But this is some of the home staple things that we do as model builders. So I hope I haven't lost you. There is a lot of considerable amount of things to talk about. Sandpaper, though, before I go into papers, I want to go into, like, what are we doing with sandpaper? What's the point of it? I've come up with 3 things. Okay, because sandpaper, sanding, that's it kind of goes hand in hand with putty and filling and scratch building. All right. Alright, because you're going to be plugging holes. Sometimes the Tamiya hulls of armor has those of the remote engine holes that are still there from the 1960s. You know, most model builders, they put some styrene on, they fill it with putty to seal it. So you got holes. Or maybe they're drilling some holes to plug in some molded on facets. I know the Tamiya Tiger, some of the old ones, a lot of guys plug in some of the preset hole points for the cables and such. Alright, and that's probably, you know, the whole plug-in thing, you know, and then, you know, you might have some gaps, so you're going to be plugging in with putty, or you're going to be plugging in with styrene. The next part is your leveling. Okay, one example is right here, where your mold lines, when you the plastic in your older kits, you know, they come together in manufacturing, but they're not aligned right, and you end up with this irregular surface. So you're leveling. And thirdly, you're trying to smooth out the surface area of your model kit, such as this Heinkel fuselage, where I have my, you probably can't see it, but I got putty on the seam line and try to fill it and get it smooth for painting. So plugging, leveling, and smoothing, those are primarily the 3 things I'm worried about when I'm doing my sandpapers and my grinding. Okay, so if you're still with me, that's awesome. Maybe you've already turned off the video and said, oh my god, this is crazy. It's not, it's all good, it's all fun. What are the papers that I use for sandpaper? Right here I got what looks like, is it 100 or 150? Let's take a look. So I do use it. I got 100, that's a little strong. But this sheet is 220. 220 is sort of like my demarcation. Because it does have a nice grit to it. It will scratch styrene. You're going to have scratches. So if you don't want to use this for smoothing, you're primarily trying to reduce bumpy edges, maybe putty. I probably use it for heavy putty that I want to get removed. This is 100. I almost never use it. It's really gritty. But 150 I do use, and I don't have any with me. Again, reduction. There's a particular situation where it's a style of sanding that I don't see anybody use, so I might as well talk about it. Let's pretend this is 150. This one. Yeah, 150. I mean, 100 is not terrible. What's the situation? A classic example was last year I was building AFE Club's German half-track 251D, and if you're familiar with that half-track, it's got stowage bins on the outside of the hull, and they were too big, and the stowage bins came out beyond the hull, and it looked awful. So how do you do it? You want to level it so that you can bring it in. You can't sit there with sandpaper and kind of. So the best way to do it is take the whole piece, lay out a sheet like this, put it flat on a hard surface, take that piece and just drop it on, take your fingers, hold it, and then just making some circular motions, and you'll start reducing it. So this is where I'm using 150, 100 grit. It's a strong grit. It's going to reduce it fast and get the job done. The only warning or caution I have with this particular style is you need to have equal pressure on your model piece. If you get too much pressure on one side, you're going to be grinding more on one side and you're not going to be level. So in the case, like, let's pretend like this piece of this M8 armored car hull, the idea is you just drop it on and do your motions, and you just want to have equal pressure, and it's going to stay level. And what you do, what I do, is because I know it can be a little tricky, just do it for a few seconds, wipe off the dust, dry fit it. See how it fits. If you've got some more, come back. It just takes a little bit of time, and it gets the problem solved. So that's the 100 and 150 grits. That's only what I use it for. I don't use it for anything else in my model building. The 220 again, heavy putty. Milli putt can be pretty strong stuff sometimes, and I'll use this. So 220 isn't too bad. But most of my sanding for almost all my model building is I stay up in the 600 and 400 range. This is 400. This is a sheet, and I use this primarily as my main sanding paper. What I do is I'll cut off a piece, and I'll just cut some strips, take a Sharpie, write the grit, because the problem here is I got 600 and it's pretty much the same color. So I always label my pieces, and I fold it up and do my sanding with my hands. I guess if you want to use some sort of like a block, you can try that. I've never done it before, but that's a possibility. And then the 600, yeah, just continue sanding, because what you want, once you're done reducing your pieces, you've leveled your thing, your stuttering piece, but then you want to start smoothing. That's a finishing process, and what your ultimate goal is a smooth surface that has no nooks and crannies, so that when it's ready for painting, that paint's going to look really nice. At least the prep work looks really nice. The paint job, all that's painting, and that's another topic. But at least the prep work is ready. It's ready for painting, and that's what you're trying to achieve. And so yeah, my 600 and 400s. Now I will say this: with model building, it's really easy to just grab a nice surface like this and just fold up a piece and sand. Well, that's easy. You're going to find situations where it's not so easy. You may have, this is your fender of a Stug, and I've filled in some ejection pin marks, and the problem is it's not level. I got edging, and then it gets really tough right here where I got the front fender piece, and I got an injection pin mark right there. How do I sand that? I just can't fold paper and do that because my finger is going to get stuck in here. So, you know, the market provides a lot of stuff, sanding sticks. If you want to use that kind of stuff and it's in your budget, go ahead, try it out. For me, I'd rather use my money elsewhere. So I just make my own sanding sticks. Just take some pieces of wood, and I take my scissors and I cut little pieces, and I take some Elmer's glue, and I just take a little tip, and I stick them on, and let them dry overnight or a couple hours. And then when they're dry, I just cut off make it flush with my sticks and go to work sanding. Because now, with the sanding stick, I can get inside tough places and I can do some sanding. No problems. Same thing with these wheel wells for the M8 armored car. I can get inside here now and sand. And if it gets into a tough situation, the angles are weird, like when I worked on my Geschützwagen this winter. There's seriously a lot of angles in the plates of the armor. So actually I just cut my wood at angles so I can reach. And these work pretty good. It's a good method. You know, you have to swap out your sheets quickly, and just I usually take a pencil and I just sort of label what kind of sanding grits I have on them, and it works well. For a model builder on a budget, this is great because the sticks will probably last me along, you know, the rest of my modeling career, and I'm using a little bit of paper. Yeah, sanding sticks, they work pretty good. Alright, now you may be asking yourself, God, Russ, why are you, am I obsessed about ejection pin marks? Alright, and this is, for me it's a sensitive topic. I don't like talking about it on my channel because I like not having the topic on my channel. I don't like talking about it in general, but you know, most of you guys who do watch or have been watching my channel, I do compete at IPMS model shows, and so you know, there's judging. You know, there's first, second, third placements. It's competition, and I have talked about it briefly on one or two of my videos over the past 14 months. I don't like talking about it because it's a different category of model building. It's a different subject, it's a different thing, it's a different monster, and I really would just keep that out of my channel for most purposes. You know, yeah, I like competing for my own personal reasons. One, for me, it's a good measure of enhancing my skills, and I do like showing off the models. I think it's nice, but it's not for everybody. And it comes the yin and the yang of it. You know, when you enter into competition, it can get stressful, and you meet people who are not, they're not really friendly. They're a bit abrasive, like sandpaper. And I'm not saying about everybody, but anybody who is in those big clubs, the big shows, if they're honest, they'll say, "Yeah, Russ, you're right," and a lot of people have. You know, some people are not very good losers, you know, and I always I don't know. Anyway, so what's my point of why am I saying that? Is that, yeah, I fill all my holes in because a judge is going to look at that, and you know, there'd be a gig on the judging. So yeah, I'm going to go out of my way to fill all the wheel wells because they're going to pick up the model and they're going to look for that stuff. And so that's why I fill all my ejection pin marks. If you just want to build a model, you don't have to fill all those stupid things in. And I would recommend don't. It's a pain. It's a lot of extra work. And you know what? If I'm building a model and I know I'm not going to bring it to a show, sometimes I just build models just for me. I don't put it on my channel, and I don't take it to shows. I just build it for me. And that is healthy and good, and I think that's probably one of the best reasons to build a model. Just have fun and enjoy it. So if I'm going overboard with ejection pin marks, that's why I do it. So anyway, and at the end, it does look pretty nice. But if you're not ever going to see it, why bother? And that's the same thing with engines, a lot of internal details. If it's not going to be exposed or seen, my philosophy is don't bother. Use those parts for scratch building or something else. Alright, so I covered all that. So I've covered the market. I've covered a few extra things. I want to talk about finishing sanding. Because once you've reduced and leveled all those irregular parts of your model kits, and you've plugged with putty or styrene all those gaps, you want to smooth out that finish. So you really want to start using higher grit sandpaper. I'm using 3200 and 4000. This is very fine grit. These are kind of sponges. I don't know who makes them, I forget. They're really cheap, so I bought them. And they work pretty good. And they're also used for wet sanding, which I'll talk about next. But yeah, because what's going to happen is you're just going to, because sandpaper, it's abrasive. It's even, the 400, there's a little bit of scratching going on. Even on this Henkel, I got some scratching from the 400, a little bit. It probably won't show up on the paint when I paint it, but you want to remove as much as possible. So use this stuff to clean it up, get it nice and smooth, and you'll be looking really well. How do you look for scratches and stuff and irregularities? I really don't know. There's no perfect way. I mean, painting, primer. Here's my Henkel. I mentioned it in my JU87 Stuka. When you're doing your seam lines, throw some paint on it afterwards to look for all the marks. You want to look for a smooth finish. If you don't find that, you're going to see shadow lines in the creases or crevices of the putty. Same thing with any major scratches. It's going to show up. And so that's why I would recommend when you're getting ready for finishing, throw on a primer. Mostly with aircraft. I don't do it so much with armor. I do it with my aircraft. And so once you see that, just go back in and fill it and sand it over again. And usually the second time, it looks really good. Alright. Now, one of the I've been starting to use wet sanding. I used it on my Stuka this summer, and I was really impressed with the results. Wet sanding, what is it? It's just another form of sanding. I'm not an expert on it. My brother does a lot of wet sanding. He does automotive body work as a profession and also as a hobby with classic cars. And so he was kind of showing me a little bit of the ropes of sanding, wet sanding. But it's not hard. Again, don't be afraid of trying out new techniques. I did it on the Stuka. I'll probably do it again on my fuselage. But if you take a little spray bottle, you can spray some water on it. I just take a toothbrush. I use toothbrush. Put in some water. Just dab some water on. And begin wet sanding. This is used for both wet and dry sanding. So if you're going to try it, just make sure that you're using sanding equipment that is meant for wet sanding. And just start sanding. I think it gives you a little bit of a better finish. But that's just me. Some people may disagree. I don't know. But I was really impressed with it. And for wet sanding, it's not as damaging to your sanding paper product because the water just comes off. And I think that's the idea of wet sanding. When you're dry sanding, all that dust builds up, and so you're not really working the surface. With wet sand, all the water, in a sense, is almost like a sleuth in mining. It's taking off the dust while you're sanding, so you're staying closer to the actual surfacing material. So at least that's how I see it. And it works out pretty good. Okay. I hope I haven't lost you. I'm talking probably a little too fast, but I don't want to. I should probably slow it up a little bit. it's overwhelming. I didn't want to do all of this stuff in one video, but yeah, you know, it's not too bad. But I think watching some of the videos, it can become overwhelming. One of the other things is beauty salon products. I only own one, and when I moved back to my family's house, I went to my attic and had some modeling material from that used in the 90s, and I have an old emery board. So, but the beauty salon universe has certainly offered a lot for model builders. If you go to Red Dragon, Gilbert, his channel, he certainly uses a lot of that stuff. There's like the big giant like sanding block thing, and you got a lot of the bigger sanding sticks with multi grits. I don't have any. I'm sure they're probably something I'm going to get later on, but I still got tons of paper. So for me, it's like I want to reduce, just like model building, we have a stash. You know, I need to reduce my tools. So once that thins out, I'll probably invest in some of that material and try them out. But I've heard a lot of good things about it. So, and that's always the thing. You always want to keep an ear or an eye open for new products that show up, because, as I said in the beginning, the tools do change over time. And I think I've pretty much covered all that I wanted to say on sanding. Lastly, I guess I will say, when you're sanding your model, whether it be a tank or plane or a ship, once you've done a lot of the sanding, I recommend washing the model in some water and let it dry overnight, or in some sunlight for a little bit. Especially if you've got a model that has a lot of recessed panel lines, because the dust and material, it's going to get in there. You want to get it out as much as possible. Okay. So, my next thing I want to talk about for this category is files. And I use them a lot. And let's see, they're called jeweler's files, or they're called needle files. They're files. I even got this big old file that I use sometimes. What do I do with it? When my shapes are getting really huge, and sometimes they are, I will use a file to grind it down to bring it level. Other than that, I use it for mostly just shaping. They're good for shaping. An example would be my Stug, the rear plate. I don't know if you can see it, but it's got a nice corner here. And there are two pieces that I had to glue the rear hull plate to the hull. And there was a lot of irregularities in the edges. They kind of were bumpy, and so there was a lot of gaps and craters. So I wanted to restore that edge, and what I did is I took some Milliput putty, or any other equivalent putty that you might have, and I just filled it in. And then once it was filled, I just went over and took my flat piece here and began removing all the excess putty until I could restore the edge, and it did a really great job. I wish I took a picture of what it looked like before so you can have an idea, but it came out really nice. And that's one of the primary reasons why I use the needle files, mostly just shaping putty material. I use it quickly for removing flash, as opposed to using a blade of a hobby knife. I've just gotten into that kind of habit. I think I mentioned it once in my Tools of the Hobby, the blades, which was the premise of the whole point of the Tools of the Hobby series, is that as you advance into model building, if we're honest, we should be able to say yes. We take a lot for granted. You know, for me, it's sometimes I don't even think about it. I just grab it and so yeah, I'll just use this for flash material a lot, and shaping. So we covered that. Don't use files for spheres. Okay, this is a sphere. This is blown out of scale, but I wanted to show you. This is usually a round object, maybe a cannon barrel or some round molded piece of model kit. And this happens a lot where the pieces slip in manufacturing and you end up with that huge thing. If it's a sphere, you're really not going to be able to reduce. Well, you could grind it down so that you can work with it, but for the most part, if you start using files, what's going to happen is you're going to lose the circle and you're going to have squares in it, so you really don't want to do that. Things like this big, I recall hearing Nigel Wells was working on an aircraft this summer or this spring for I heard it through Mike Campbell, but he was actually working on a fuselage that was something like this, and he had to grind it down. So it's out there. You may run into these situations. So don't, and this is a great example of, this is model building. This is like classic, rolling up your sleeves and getting dirty, Yeah, just grind it down till that it's workable. And then you take some putty and finish off the circle, and then sandpaper, and just start smoothing it so you get the nice circular shape. One thing with files is you want to clean them. If you get like a nice steel brush with some fine bristles would be good. Usually that's what you use on the bigger ones. On the smaller ones, I usually take an old X-Acto blade tip and I'll just run it through the teeth and get most of it out. Especially with milliput, really builds up in there. It gets really cakey in there. So you always want to clean these after you're done working with them. Alright, you saw the big file, and what do I use this for? Again, if I have a big piece that's something like this, yeah, don't sit there with a little piece of paper or a little file, because you'll be there for days. Get the job done. Don't be afraid to use some of the big guns, and go to town. If you need to get it put in a vise, clamp your piece, go to town. Alright? And that's about it. The last thing I wanted to mention, my tools for this, is really when you do get the big gun pieces, yeah, you can use the file, but you can go bigger. You can use your rotary tool, and you have tools. I use my sanding disc, and I got this piece right here, the little sanding, grinding thing. I don't know what it's called. And just grind it down. When you're grinding with the rotary tools, don't go like, guns blazing, because you're going to burn off too much and you might melt the plastic. So go in gingerly, and don't go flush with the piece that you want to measure it to. Leave it a little bit so you can go back in with files, and then maybe go in with the sandpaper afterwards. Alright, so always leave a little bit of a lip or a little bit of an edge when you're grinding. Alright, I usually use on a slow setting speed. Don't crank it to like 10. It's crazy. One thing too, it's also dangerous. If you work with rotary tools, it goes in one motion, one direction, and if you're got your piece you're holding in the opposite direction, there's a chance it's going to spin. And it's going to spin off into your face, or it's going to spin off out into the wall somewhere of your workbench. And if you've had that experience, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, someday you may find it. Be careful. So safety goggles, if you got them, might be a good thing. Especially when you're using rotary tools, because that grinding material, it's going everywhere. Little bits of plastic and stuff, and that can get into your eye. I do know one or two people who have eye damage from doing some careless things, so I only say it because I've seen it happen to people, and it sucks. And I would hate for someone to lose their hobby because of a careless mistake. So safety protection is available. Please use it. I use my glasses, It has worked on many occasions. I should get like scratch proof glasses, but it has helped, so it's out there. Okay, my last tip is this piece. I do use this for the ejection pin marks that are exterior. And what do I mean by that? Let me draw it. You might get a case where usually your ejection pin marks are internal, because the ejection pin mark went past the surface of the plastic model. In some cases, you will get some that are exterior, where it didn't punch through at all. So what I'm talking about right here is this stuff on top of the line. This is your typical ejection pin mark, the dotted lines, where it's inside. But this one is raised up. So you don't want to sit there and sand that. Again, you're going to be there forever, and it's doesn't make sense. So grind it. And I usually use my little rotary tip tool here, and I just grind down the edges until actually I actually go below the surface, because I know I can always fill it once it's all cleared. So I'll grind it down to below the surface, take some sandpaper, sand it a little bit, and then go in with your choice of putty, and then sand it, and it's all set. So, okay, that was a forced march of sanding, grinding, and filing. Well, that's all I have to say about sanding, filing, and grinding, and I hope some of these techniques and styles have been informative and helpful, and I would recommend try it out sometime and model on. Alright, so I'll see you guys again here on YouTube sometime. Take care and have a good one.